The recent approval of the takeoff of the community policing program is still generating reactions in light of different security challenges the country is battling with.
Many argue that the community police is better suited for dealing with problems at the grassroots. Others, President Buhari, say the quest for community policing is part of efforts to rejig the security architecture in the country and deliver a more effective policing. But Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity to the President, Garba Shehu, says many of the states agitating for community policing may be unable to cope with salary payment.
And joining us in the studio is Public Affairs Analyst Razak Olokoba. Razak, good morning.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning. Good morning, Veronica. And viewers at home.
Yeah, nice to see you. Now, when it comes to the community policing, it seems there's some level of confusion already as to who to be responsible for the welfare and the payments, the regular salaries of these people. The governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, has said that no state is going to pay for community policing. But the federal government has really decided to approve monies for the takeoff in 13 billion naira. Now, what do you make of this? At this point that we are, it seems there is no clear-cut direction who to be responsible and how this is going to kick off.
Well, community policing is the responsibility of state government. And
ideally.
Yes, ideally. And we are not supposed to create a crisis of perspective for ourselves. And as it indicates, is community. The communities are under states. Now, federal government has a right to caution any states. It's part of our responsibility to caution states because they have apparatus to monitor the activity of states and to be able to determine their capacity.
But wouldn't that create constitutional crisis?
No, to caution, not to stop.
Okay.
To caution and advise. Because they have their apparatus. Even if you are borrowing money outside the country, the parent body, which is the federal government, must give approval to it. And if the federal government will have access to your debt profile of every state, and if it's getting out of hand, you'll be cautioned. So it's because community policing is in the front border. That's why it appears strange to us. Under the carpet, there are issues between each state and federal government that are similar to what you are saying. The federal government caution and say that, no, you can't do this. Your state is not healthy for this. If Lagos State government is trying to talk about a land mass investment now, they be cautioned that we have 3,400 square kilometers. Where do you get the land? But when he's talking about a product that is mass-based, there's that population for Lagos. 20 million people are ready. In fact, federal government will encourage such an initiative. Just like Niger State, the biggest state in Nigeria, with the big land mass, is initiating something that has to do with a mass base. They say, where is the population? You are just 4 million people. So these are areas that federal government should control. So on state police, it's security, and it should be a priority. The state must look inward at all the numbers of waste that they embark on in their state. We have been talking about a commissioner who have 5-6 cars following them, a special advisor, a special assistant.
But one of the arguments,
saying that,
if I am to interrupt your thought here, is that most of the states are still owing salaries. That is what the government is even saying, and
pensions.
And pensions as well. Wouldn't it be
that
a
is what I'm
financial
saying.
burden?
That's what I'm saying, that as states, poverty, see, you are talking about salary, and we are talking about security. They are CMS twins. Poverty and security of life is important. They must prioritize. I'm not saying that they should incur new debt. Look, what Lagos State government is doing is that they are not employing new people. They are converting the community effort that they have introduced before, who are called the neighborhood. They are improvising. They will just employ 50 people.
So where does this leave Amotekun? Because
there's no state that does not have agencies at the moment that are similar to that you will just upgrade them. It's possible. Because if we don't do it, the rate at which insecurity is going may get out of hand.
Where does this leave Amotekun?
Yes, it's still Amotekun.
No, because from a report I got this morning, the Southwest governors are saying that the Amotekun will not be under the community police.
No. The definition of what the governor has said, we are trying to get in touch with them to ask them to define to us. Are you saying that the state will not be responsible for the salary? Is that what the governor want to clarification? If that is what they say, it is wrong. States must be responsible for the payment of state police or state effort.
But Governor Keredolu is saying they will not pay. He has categorically said they will not, so long as it's community policing, monies will not come from the state governments. That's what he's saying.
And that is what the federal government is trying to run away from.
Okay.
And that is the argument of people like us that we can't be dancing forward and backward. Allow state to run their finances. Let them generate money. State that cannot stand on it. So let that state merge with another state. You can't say that I can't run the state. State police is important. Any governor that is saying pushing that kind of argument is just trying to draw us back. They should improvise. The argument of who is going to pay can come later with the federal government. But they must initiate it. It's their initiative.
But if you initiate, because if you cannot bring the issue of payment later, because the moment you engage,
that's what I'm saying.
The moment you engage them, payment starts immediately.
You can't ask the federal government to pay for an initiative that is your own.
But the federal government is the one coming up with the police.
You have assured, if the federal government is paying, that is being generous. But I'm only brief. I've heard brief for states in the past that they have a right to initiate an initiative that is state-based. On this note, too, we're also saying that the federal government is being generous if they do that. But in actual fact, it is the business of states to look at what Lagos State government is doing about community effort, the neighborhood. Lagos State government is not taking the bill to federal government. So any state that is coming up with the payment of with the initiative of state policing is the business of that state.
Yeah, but the point is, in a situation where
the federal government,
in a situation
that
where,
is why they have to be prudent in their spending.
Yeah, but in a situation where whether they are prudent or not more than about 7 to 8 states can survive without subvention.
That's why
from
we are
the
saying
federal
federalism.
government.
That's why we are saying federalism. If you don't want state police, make do with federal police. If you can't run a state police, we are running a federation.
Isn't that what we're running already?
So if you can't make do, in fact, it's not all the states in Nigeria that are talking about state police or Amatekun. Some states are saying that no, don't put another.
We're not ripe for that.
We're not ripe for that. So if you are not ripe for that, it's better you leave it until you are able and capable. And that's why we are saying that the whole thing is gradually coming to an end. States who have seen the future must start looking inward now. Any state that is not looking about an alternative source of income, that state may face a lot of economic calamity in the future. That's the reality. And we have been talking about this for long.
So with this crisis in perspective, are you confident?
It's not a crisis.
No, because obviously we are going back and forth.
Because the point is, there hasn't been a clear-cut agreement. There hasn't been a clear-cut agreement.
These are necessary ingredients for us to be able to stabilize.
Yeah, but the point is, in this ingredient, there hasn't been an agreement between the state government and the state government on what ingredient to use first and all of that.
So where does that leave us?
The universal standard is that if you don't have the capacity, allow states that have the capacity to continue to run their affair. And they who don't have the capacity. Razak,
there is a universal
don't
standard.
Let us run out. That's the universal standard.
Yeah, but we have a constitution that we have to live by the letter and the word of the constitution.
There's nothing out of constitution. But the point out of constitution.
Yeah, but the point there is,
if you are the chairman of your CDA now and you employ a megad, will your councillor pay for you? Your councillor cannot pay for it. He's taking salary from local government. Is the owners of the houses in that community and the tenant that will pay. In any state, they are the tenant, they are the landlord in that state. They have to source for fund out to fund for the security. This is not about federal government. In fact, when it comes to responsibility now, we forget federalism. But when it comes from benefit of federalism, we now remember that we are a state government.
Okay. So with the issue on the ground now, if the federal and state government are not seeing eye to eye, since it's not a crisis of perspective, like you were saying, where does this leave?
There are states who are ready to pay.
Where does this leave the whole initiative?
There are states who are ready to pay.
But how many?
How many of them?
The states who are ready. That means the states who are ready to pay. It's not as if it's convenient for them. They just improvise. They are just being prudent about what they have. That means they take the security and life of their people more important than the state who can source for the fund.
So the
because there's no state that can say that
they may not be able to sustain it at the end of the day.
It should be sustained.
It should be.
It should be sustained.
Underline the word, it should be.
Don't let us create an escape route for our governors.
Okay.
It should be sustained. If you can fuel the jeeps, several jeeps of your commissioner and special advisor, then you are saying that you can't pay for megas.
Okay. In all of this, before I let you go, do you think
it's important.
in all of this, before we let you go now, do you think there should be some tweaking of the constitution when it comes to the issue of that security?
Yes, the constitutional issue, which is what our Attorney General didn't get right. Laws are supposed to make the people happy. Any law that doesn't make us happy, the Attorney General should advise the nation that law should be justician. There should be a law that will create a relationship between the federal and the state police in such a way that it's going to allay our fear. That if a state government is turning its own police into a militia, the federal police has the right to federalize it to such a time that they will come back to the conventional security role that they are supposed to be playing.
All right.
All right. Just last week, there were reports that the president has approved the payment of 13.3 billion naira. And that has generated a lot of concerns for Nigerians looking at the monies we have spent in dealing with security matters over the past 10 years. How much difference would this make? And is this money, do we need that much even to address this?
That's very generous from the president and the federal government.
Generous?
Yes, to the states, because it shows clearly that maybe the government is committed to putting the security issue behind us. I know very well that with all the advocates that has been going around, there's wisdom on ground that there's a need for a state effort to be part of the securing our nation, because it's a peculiar situation and it requires a peculiar solution. The terrains is better understood by the state government. At times, it's not about bullets and guns that resolve this whole question of insecurity. In Borno, if you look at how Yusuf operates, if there were state efforts, because there's a department in the security network that is also about orientation and enlightenment, they will inspire spiritual leaders to push more superior enlightenment and spiritual program that will outweigh what Yusuf was doing that time. And that has been part of advocacy that it's not about gun. So if state security outfits were involved, instead of bringing in the armies and the federal police that don't understand the genesis of what led to that kind of hardline preaching. So coming from what the president has done is realizing that what we have been saying about state security is important.
So how much impact would this make?
Well, it's been said that maybe some states are broke, some states does not have the capacity, but all the state needs security efforts to survive the situation we find ourselves. So it's just providing a template, and the states should not be too joyous about it, because these further agreements may not last. It's not going to be forever. It may not be part of our budget next year that provision will be made for security. It's just a soft landing to them, such that they can take off. In my thinking, that is what it is. Because if you want to do a personal program, you can't lump it on the head of the management of where you are working. It's a personal thing. You must work it within your own salary. So the state must work it within their own salary. So it's generous of the federal government to be doing that. If it is possible for the federal government to continue this kind of generosity, it is taken. But the day it stops, should not arise such argument, because it falls under the purview of the state government to fund state security outreach. It's not the business of the federal government. So if
are we seeing, Razak, are we seeing, can we see that this movement by the federal government is one step or an indication that it's possible it's creating room for state police?
What
could this be some of the first signs?
That is what I'm thinking too.
Okay.
That's a concession, and that's admittance that this thing is necessary. The fear has been there for a long time that state creation. In fact, when other layers of government were created, state government were created, there was that fear. To read our history, it's okay, federal government, 7 states, 9 states, 12 states. But when state government came on board, There were arguments like that. But when we sat down genuinely and sit down to discuss it, people understand that there should be layers of government. So there's also be layers of security. One argument, superior argument are being pushed for them to understand that unitary system of security in Nigeria will not work. Some states need roadblock, some don't need. Some need a peculiar system to secure their state. Some don't need. So, and that is what the president has seen in all our arguments, that okay, it's a peculiar issue. The fear will be assuaged of whether the states actually may turn to militia of the state government.
Yeah,
because
but
Razak,
the point there is, in our history as a country, are we used to the issue of everybody can, display his own peculiarity in his own way?
That was how we started.
We often turn to uniformity.
No.
Whatever is in Lagos has to be in Benue. Whatever is in Benue has to be in Cross River.
That is how we started. There were regions. In some regions, the system of government differs
the
from
First
other
Republic.
regions. The First Republic differs completely. And we prospered. And that was about the first time we ever recorded prosperity for Nigerians. Cast your memory back.
Yeah, that's true.
Good salary, structure, security, and promoting of our culture, our traditional
before we
religion.
let you go, because of time, quickly, there are concerns that this could also be, with the monies released, a conduit for corruption. I wonder if you have that concern as well, quickly.
There's EFCC for anybody that steals state security money. There's ICPC, and there's also the Nigerians. God does not secure money for people. People secure people's money. God don't spend money. So it's you and I, just Veronica, to make sure that this money is spent to secure 36 states of the Federation.
You and I are here in the studio.
It's not
The point there is, all the money.
What you are doing, you could be placing advert and be collecting our currency for this moment you are dedicating to this program.
Anyway, we have to leave the
So you are doing a
conversation.
good job.
Razak, we have to leave the conversation here now.
Razak,
Thank you so much
it's a
for your
pleasure being with
time.
you.
Thank you very much.